Hey there, guys. Welcome back to Anthony Reviews, where Anthony reviews. And today we're going to be taking a look at one of the newest McFarlane Toys figures for the DC Multiverse line, and that is the Hal Jordan Green Lantern versus the Batman Earth Dawnbreaker, the Dawnbreaker from the Dark Knight's Metal storyline. But obviously, I'm a Hal Jordan fan, as you can probably somewhat see behind me. So I was obviously very, very excited for this two-pack for the Hal Jordan in particular. Let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and take a look at the figures.
Repaints, retools, and re-releases are a fairly common practice in the world of toys and action figures. A company puts a lot of money into making a new mold so they can use it any way they can. For some, this is simple. Hasbro's Marvel Legends consists mainly of muscular men and women who are simply repaints with new heads and or accessories. While other companies like McFarlane Toys have it a bit harder. They have figures that seem to be sculpted specifically to one character that may or may not be used for others. So they have to be a bit more creative with how they reuse parts. Sometimes this could be a simple repaint or a retool, meaning they add a new detail on the suit or possibly a new head. The reason I'm going on about this is because the figures we're looking at today are prime examples of this practice. One is a repaint with a new head and accessories, and the other is a straight up re-release. With all that info though, let's look at the figures and see how they are. We are going to start with the Dawnbreaker Batman, who from what I can tell is a full re-release of the same figure that came out back in early fall of 2020. Full transparency, however, I'm not a huge fan of the Dark Knight's Metal storyline. I'm happy that Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo were able to make something that totally looks like their unapologetic vision brought into the world of comics. But it just never really clicked with me and I let it pass me by. That being said, of course I'm going to review this figure based on its merits as a figure. And on that front, this thing is pretty cool. Much like a lot of the McFarlane figures, it does a wonderful job including as much detail as you possibly can in a $20 figure. While I'm sure eagle-eyed fans can find some differences, the detail and sculpt here does its best to make it look like that original artwork as it possibly can. This almost Black Lantern-esque Bruce Wayne is sure to stand out amongst other DC figures. And I'm sure he looks great alongside the other evil Justice League Batman folk. I really like the metallic green as well on his suit. It really stands out against the darker tones. His articulation is what you'd expect with most McFarlane figures at this point. Those double-jointed elbow and knees do wonders to get his limbs into some interesting positions. Although while his limbs are pretty articulated, his torso does come off as a bit stiff in my opinion. Despite that though, this figure is full of personality and playability. With that out of the way, let's move on to the main event. I've made it no secret that I am a huge fan of Hal Jordan. To me, Hal has always felt like someone took traits of Captain Kirk, Han Solo, and threw in a bit of Maverick from Top Gun. So you can imagine just how excited I was to hear that McFarlane was going to do Hal Jordan in this line. I had already gotten the John, so I was aware of what I liked and disliked from that figure. Now I just needed that Jordan touch. If you've seen my review of the John Stewart figure, then you'll be aware of this mold already. This figure is simply a repaint of that one with a new head, obviously. He's got the same articulation and the same details all over the suit. If you like that figure, then, like me, you'll like this one too. The main difference here, as I mentioned before, is the new head and the paint job. The head goes for a more mature look for Jordan, which I really enjoy. My first main exposure to the character was in Green Lantern Rebirth. In that, Hal, of course, is not a young hotshot by any means, so I've always had an attachment to see a more older Hal Jordan. This figure accomplishes that look very well. Now for the suit itself, it's interesting. When we heard that Hal would be released, most fans assumed they would just use the John Stewart sculpt and paint a different outfit on him. Which they did, so that was a pretty safe bet. Now looking at Hal, you might think to yourself, he looks a bit thick, especially compared to John, but they're the same body, so why is that? Well, it's all in the color choices. Black is a slimming color, so when you go with the all green in the torso here, you tend to look a bit bigger. And for some, this bigger isn't in the right places, which is a bit off-putting to some, but not for me. Another odd detail is the lack of black under the arms. Generally speaking, the standard GL suit has had black areas connecting from under the arms to the mid-torso. I think without that black, you seem to get, once again, a thicker look. Other than that detail, however, there's enough here to make him stand out against Jon Stewart. And I guess you could say the bodies themselves are similar since they're both wearing GL uniforms, so it kinda works. Alright, I've talked about what I like, let's dive into some of the problems. For starters, the symbol on my figure seems to have taken a bit of a hit, I'm not exactly sure why. It's slightly crooked, and as you can see, there's like a little chunk right out of the side. No big deal, you won't really notice it if it's on a shelf. The other problem I have, though, is his arm. As of yet, I haven't had any issues with joints on my McFarlane figures, so this is the first time I've run into this problem. But I have heard others say that they've had this issues with legs, arms, etc. I don't even really have to say anything, I can just sort of show you here. It's even worse when you add on the punching glove construct. So sad. Now, I did receive a suggestion on how to fix this arm. Rob D Toys over on Instagram, who I highly recommend you check out, suggested removing the arm, adding some floor polish, and that will fix up the issues. I'll have to look into that, but obviously for the sake of this review, I wanted to show you as I received it. Is this a deal breaker? No, but it's definitely a problem that I hope to see less of in the future if possible. But with that said, let's move on to the accessories. This being a 2-pack, you actually do get quite a bit. For the Dawnbreaker, you do get the same evil bat sort of tentacle thing from the original release. It would have been nice to get something new, but at least they didn't take anything away. Hal is obviously the main attraction for the set, so he gets a boxing glove and a jetpack. The jetpack is very cool in my opinion. It feels sort of retro, and I like its compact design. The boxing glove is cool too. Rather than going for a straight up translucent boxing glove, they added all this detail and flair to really make it feel alive. The final piece here, of course, is a base built for two, half of which is designed to fit the evil nature of the Dawnbreaker, and the other simulates a missile, I'm assuming. While I personally have no use for it in my display, I do think it's a well-sculpted, nice-looking, translucent piece of plastic, so bravo. So, being such a big Green Lantern fan, does this pack live up to my expectations? Yes and no. There are issues here that I wish were different. The loose arm is definitely one of them, and maybe that black under the arms really could have made a difference visually. However, with the sculpting and articulation, I still think this is a really good figure to have. He looks great with my other McFarlane figures and my other Green Lanterns as well. Even though I don't want to give Todd any ideas, if they released this figure on its own, but with the gray stripes on the temples, I'd buy it. You know, on second thought, I really shouldn't have said that. Because now, they're totally gonna do it.
And there you guys go. Those were my thoughts on the DC Multiverse Hal Jordan versus Dawnbreaker 2-pack from McFarlane Toys. And obviously, there's quite a bit of positives to take from this. Some QC issues here and there, and just sort of a particular design choice that is by no means a deal breaker, but can be sort of something you don't notice at first, and then you kind of click with you, like, that's what's wrong with the figure. But either way, I still quite enjoy it, and hope for more Hal figures in the future. There's a bunch of designs. You could do the Earth 1 designs, Parallax, like, you could really kind of branch out and do some different things. But let me guys know what you thought of the figures down below in the comments. If you're a fan of the DC Multiverse line from McFarlane, if there are specific characters that you want to see, we still need like Aquaman and Wonder Woman and a whole bunch of other League members. So probably some Green Lantern baddies like Sinestro, Atrocitus would probably be a really cool McFarlane figure. But yeah, anyways, feel free to check out some of my other reviews. I obviously did review the Jon Stewart McFarlane figure and some other stuff. I've got collection videos, all sorts of neat stuff there. If you like the video, comment, like I said, talk to me. I'd love to hear what you guys think of these things. And I'm on @AnthonyLantern on Twitter and Instagram. And subscribe for more if you want. That's really it. But thank you guys so much for watching. I didn't even address the fact that I'm in a new location. That's why it took so long to get a new video out. I moved, so that's why it looks different. Doesn't affect you guys. Anyways, take care.